The mockery, the gathering of powers, the massive space station Nexus Prime floated in the void between star systems, its crystalline structure gleaming under the light of distant suns. This neutral territory hosted the most important military demonstration in the galaxy, where 47 different species gathered every solar cycle to showcase their latest warfare technologies. The station's central amphitheater buzzed with the chatter of 100 different languages as military leaders, scientists, and diplomats filled the observation decks. Ambassador Zethkar of the reptilian hegemony adjusted his ceremonial armor as he reviewed the day's schedule on his datapad. His scaled features twisted into what passed for a smirk among his people as he read the final entry. The humans wanted to demonstrate their stealth technology, the same humans whose ships still relied on fusion drives and whose weapons barely registered on modern threat assessments. High Counselor Methane materialized beside him, the ethereal being's energy form flickering with amusement. The Counselor's species had transcended physical form millennia ago, existing as pure consciousness that could manipulate matter and energy at will. To them, the younger races were like children playing with toys. The Terrans believe they have something worth showing us. Methane's voice resonated directly in Zethkar's mind. Their ambassador seemed quite confident when she submitted the request. Zethkar's forked tongue flicked out in disdain. Confidence born of ignorance. Our intelligence reports show they still use chemical explosives and kinetic weapons. What could they possibly know about true stealth that we haven't mastered for centuries? The demonstration area was a sphere of space 10,000 kilometers in diameter, monitored by the most advanced sensor arrays in the galaxy. Every conceivable detection method was employed: gravitational wave detectors, quantum field analyzers, dimensional displacement scanners, temporal distortion monitors, and psychic resonance trackers. Nothing could hide from the combined sensor net of 47 advanced civilizations. The human proposal captain, Elena Vasquez, stood at the speaker's podium. Her crisp Terran Defense Force uniform, a stark contrast to the exotic attire of her alien counterparts. At 43, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had seen real combat. Unlike many of the peacetime officers surrounding her, her dark eyes swept across the assembled delegates as she began her presentation. Honored delegates of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the amphitheater's translation systems. Humanity requests permission to demonstrate our approach to stealth warfare. We believe our methods may offer a unique perspective on tactical concealment. A ripple of barely contained laughter passed through the audience. The Christec Consortium's representative, a being of living crystal, chimed with metallic amusement. Captain Vasquez, our records indicate that human stealth technology consists primarily of coating vessels with radar-absorbing materials and reducing thermal signatures. Hardly revolutionary by galactic standards. Zethkar leaned forward in his seat. Our own stealth vessels can phase shift between dimensions, becoming completely undetectable to conventional sensors. The Void Wraiths can manipulate space-time itself to hide their fleets. What exactly does Earth bring to this gathering that we haven't seen before? Captain Vasquez smiled, and something in that expression made a few of the more perceptive delegates sit up straighter. With respect, Ambassador Zethkar, I think you'll find our demonstration quite illuminating. We're ready to begin whenever the sensor array confirms the demonstration space is clear. The station's AI announced in its neutral tone, sensor sweep complete. Demonstration area is confirmed empty. All detection grids are active and monitoring. Human delegation, you are cleared to proceed. The impossible revelation. Captain Vasquez touched her cum badge. Commander Morrison, you're cleared for Doclock. Copy that, Captain. Initiating revelation protocol now. What happened next violated every principle of physics the assembled species thought they understood. Ships didn't appear in the demonstration area. They revealed themselves. One moment the sensor displays showed empty space. The next, they showed a massive human vessel that registered as having been there all along. But this wasn't the impossible part. The impossible part was where it was located. The human ship, designated. The UES Phantom sat less than 200 meters from Ambassador Zefkar's own flagship, the hegemony's most advanced combat vessel, bristling with sensors and defensive systems, had been sitting next to a human warship for hours without detecting it. Emergency alarms began blaring throughout the station as every delegation's security forces went to maximum alert. The impossibility of the situation sent shockwaves through the amphitheater as military leaders frantically checked their own sensor readings. "This is impossible," Zefkar hissed, his reptilian features flushed with embarrassment and growing alarm. "Our proximity sensors would have detected any approach. Our gravitational field monitors would have registered the mass displacement. How long has that ship been there?" Commander Jake Morrison's voice came through the comm system, his tone casual despite the chaos erupting around him. "Oh, about 6 hours, Ambassador. We moved into position before the first demonstration began. Lovely view of your ship's hull, by the way. That's some impressive armor plating." High Counselor Methane-S energy form pulsed with confusion. "Our consciousness sensors detect no life signs. How are you masking your crew's mental signatures?" "We're not masking anything," Captain Vasquez replied calmly. "Commander Morrison, please reveal our escort vessels." The demonstration area suddenly filled with ships, not appearing, not decloaking, but simply acknowledging their presence. 12 human vessels of various sizes materialized around the gathered alien fleets, each one positioned with surgical precision near the most heavily defended ships in the galaxy. The Void Wraith delegation's shadow ship had a human destroyer sitting in its blind spot. The Christek Consortium's mobile fortress found itself sharing space with a human cruiser that their sensors insisted was actually a cloud of cosmic dust. The ethereal High Counselor's energy vessel discovered it had been in formation with a human frigate for the entire duration of the exhibition. Panic spread through the assembled delegates as they realized the implications. If the humans could position their ships undetected among the galaxy's most advanced fleets, what else might they have been observing? The method behind the madness explained this sorcery, demanded General Thox of the Silicon Collective, his mechanical voice carrying both anger and fear. "Our quantum sensors read these areas as empty space. How are your vessels simultaneously present and absent?" Captain Vasquez gestured to the main display, where technical readouts showed the sensor data in real time. The answer is surprisingly simple, general. Most civilizations developed stealth by trying to hide their ships from sensors. Humanity developed stealth by making our ships irrelevant to your sensors. Irrelevant. Methanus form flickered with confusion. Your detection systems work by identifying anomalies, things that shouldn't be where they are. Energy signatures, where there should be vacuum, mass concentrations, where space should be empty, organized patterns where chaos should reign. Our ships don't try to avoid detection. They convince your sensors that they're supposed to be there. Commander Morrison's voice joined the explanation. "The UES Phantom doesn't register as a starship to your sensors, Ambassador Zeth. It registers as background cosmic radiation, solar wind particles, quantum fluctuations, and trace dark matter. Your instruments are working perfectly. They're detecting exactly what they expect to find in this region of space. They just don't realize some of that natural phenomena happens to be arranged in the shape of a warship. The implications crashed over the assembled delegates like a tidal wave. Zethkar's voice was barely a whisper. You're saying our sensors think your ships are part of the natural environment? Exactly. Instead of hiding from your detection systems, we integrate with them. Your scanners don't see empty space with a ship trying to hide in it. They see space filled with exactly the kind of phenomena they expect, some of which happens to be under our control. The Christek representative's crystalline structure dimmed with shock. How many of your vessels have been observing our demonstration? Captain Vasquez consulted her datapad. Currently, 17 ships in the immediate area. But if you're asking about the broader surveillance network, she paused, her expression growing serious. That's classified information. Let's just say we've been keeping an eye on galactic affairs for longer than most of you realize. The scope of infiltration ambassador Zethkar felt his carefully constructed worldview crumbling. How long have you been watching us? The surveillance network has been operational for approximately 14 months, Captain Vasquez admitted. We've observed every major fleet movement, recorded your tactical doctrines, and mapped your defensive capabilities. Your own ships have been sharing sensor data with our infiltration units without realizing it. The admission sent shockwaves through the assembly. Military leaders began frantically ordering security sweeps of their home systems, knowing that if humans could infiltrate a gathering like this, nowhere was truly safe from observation. High Counselor Murthane S. Energy form pulsed with a mixture of admiration and concern. Your species has weaponized our own instruments against us. Our sensors have become accomplices in your espionage. Not weaponized, Captain Vasquez corrected. Integrated. We're not trying to defeat your technology. We're trying to work with it. Your sensors are incredibly sophisticated. They just weren't designed to recognize that some cosmic background noise might be artificially generated. General Fox's mechanical voice carried a note of grudging respect. This changes everything. If your ships can masquerade as natural phenomena, traditional detection methods are useless. How do we adapt our defenses? That's the beautiful part, Commander Morrison interjected. You can't. Not without fundamentally changing how sensors work. Any system sensitive enough to distinguish between natural and artificial cosmic phenomena would be overwhelmed by false positives. You'd detect threats everywhere because space is full of irregular patterns and anomalous readings. The demonstration area fell silent as the full implications sank in. Humanity had not just developed a new stealth technology. They had made themselves functionally invisible to every advanced civilization in the galaxy by exploiting the very sophistication of their detection systems. Commander Morrison's voice broke the silence. Of course, this does raise an interesting question. If we can watch you without being detected, and if we've been doing so for over a year, what do you think we've learned about the current state of galactic affairs? The question hung in the air like a threat. Captain Vasquez stepped forward, her expression growing grave, which brings us to why we're really here. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted consciousness configurations, we need to talk. Asterisk, the hunter becomes. The hunted emergency protocols, the atmospheric processors throughout Nexus. Prime hummed louder as emergency ventilation systems activated. Captain Vasquez's words had shifted the entire dynamic of the gathering. What had begun as a routine military demonstration had become something far more significant. 3 days ago, Captain Vasquez continued, her voice carrying the weight of dire news. Our deep space monitoring stations detected anomalous readings from the galactic rim. Long-range sensors have identified a massive fleet of unknown vessels approaching core galaxy systems. They'll reach inhabited space within 72 hours. Ambassador Zethkar's scales rippled with skepticism. Unknown vessels. Our own deep space networks have detected no such threat. Are you certain this isn't some elaborate deception to justify your surveillance activities? High Counselor Murthane's energy form pulsed with growing concern. If such a fleet existed, our consciousness sensors would have detected the life. Signs from thousands of light years away, the quantum resonance of so many minds would be impossible to miss. Captain Vasquez exchanged glances with Commander Morrison before responding. That's exactly the problem, Counselor. Our sensors detect the ships, their energy signatures, their gravitational effects, but no life signs whatsoever. We're dealing with something that appears to be completely artificial. A chill settled over the amphitheater. The galaxy had faced many threats over the millennia, but most conflicts were ultimately about resources, territory, or ideology. A fleet with no detectable life signs suggested something far worse. General Thox's mechanical voice carried new urgency. Show us this data. The main display shifted to show long-range sensor readings from the past 72 hours. The assembled delegates watched in growing horror as wave after wave of contacts appeared on the galactic rim, moving with mechanical precision toward populated systems. The fleet was massive, numbering in the thousands, and their trajectory would take them through 17 different species territories. We call them the Void Swarm, Captain Vasquez explained. Each individual unit appears to be roughly but they move with perfect coordination. No communication signals between vessels, no command structure we can identify, just flawless synchronization across thousands of ships. Commander Morrison's voice added details that made the situation worse. They've already encountered 3 automated monitoring stations along the rim. The stations transmitted distress signals for exactly 4.7 seconds before going silent. Whatever these things are, they're thorough. The harsh reality ambassador, Zethkar, studied the sensor data with growing unease. Even if this threat is real, what does it have to do with your surveillance network? Are you suggesting we need human assistance? The question hung in the air, loaded with political implications. The species represented in this room controlled the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. The idea that they might need help from humanity, long considered a minor player in galactic affairs, was almost unthinkable. Captain Vasquez's response was diplomatic but firm. Ambassador, our analysis suggests that conventional fleet tactics will be insufficient against this threat. The swarm's coordination and numbers give them a significant advantage over traditional battle formations. However, our stealth capabilities offer unique tactical opportunities. Meaning, High Counselor Murthane's energy form flickered impatiently. Meaning we can get close to them without being detected. We can study their weaknesses, disrupt their coordination, and strike at their command elements if they exist. But we can't do it alone. Even with our stealth advantage, we lack the firepower to engage a fleet that size directly. The political calculations were clear to everyone in the room. Humanity was offering their unique capabilities in exchange for alliance with the galaxy's major powers. It was a proposal born of necessity, but it required the assembled species to acknowledge that their technological superiority wasn't absolute. General Thox was the first to break the silence. "What do you propose?" Coordinated response, Captain Vasquez replied immediately. "Your fleets provide the heavy firepower and defensive capabilities. Our ships provide reconnaissance, target designation, and precision strikes against critical systems. We've already begun preliminary scouting missions. You've already engaged this swarm." Zethkar's voice carried both alarm and anger. Commander Morrison's response was matter-of-fact. "3 of our deep reconnaissance vessels have been shadowing the leading edge of their formation for 18 hours. So far, they show no awareness of our presence. We've identified what appear to be command nodes, supply vessels, and specialized support units. The intelligence we're gathering could be crucial to mounting an effective defense." The swarm arrives, as if summoned by their discussion. Every alarm system on Nexus Prime began screaming in unison. The station's AI spoke with unprecedented urgency. "Emergency alert. Multiple contacts detected entering the system. Configuration matches Void Swarm projections. All vessels prepare for immediate departure." This is not a drill. The main display shifted to show real-time sensor data from the system's defense platforms. The Void Swarm had arrived 18 hours ahead of projections, and their numbers were even worse than estimated. Thousands of identical vessels poured through the system's edge, moving with terrifying coordination toward the space station. "Impossible," Methane whispered. "They moved faster than our calculations suggested." Captain Vasquez was already in motion, speaking rapidly into her COM badge. "All Phantom units, initiate combat protocols. Morrison, I want targeting solutions on their command elements within 10 minutes." The assembled delegates watched their carefully ordered universe collapse. Around them, ships that had been hiding in plain sight throughout the exhibition suddenly revealed their true capabilities. The human vessels weren't just scouts or surveillance platforms. They were predators, and they had been waiting for exactly this moment. U.S. Phantom to all units. Commander Morrison's voice carried battle-hardened authority. "Target confirmed. We have visual on primary command node. Beginning attack, run now." The Invisible War, what followed, redefined space combat for every species present. The Void Swarms, ships moved with mechanical precision, but they had no defense against enemies they couldn't detect. Human vessels struck from impossible angles, appearing just long enough to deliver devastating attacks before vanishing back into the cosmic background. The UES Phantom materialized beside what appeared to be the swarm's primary command vessel, its weapons systems already locked onto critical targets. Plasma bolts and kinetic projectiles tore through the alien ship's hull before it could even acknowledge the human vessel's presence. The Phantom's attack lasted less than 30 seconds before the ship disappeared again, leaving the command node crippled and drifting. Throughout the system, similar strikes played out with clockwork precision. Human ships appeared, struck, and vanished, always hitting targets that other species sensors had identified as priority threats. The swarm's perfect coordination began to break down as command vessels disappeared and communication nodes went silent. Ambassador Zethkar watched in amazement as a human destroyer materialized directly beneath his flagship's weapon batteries, using the larger ship's mass shadow to mask its approach to a swarm-heavy cruiser. The human vessel delivered a precision strike that severed the alien ship's power systems before disappearing again, leaving the enemy vessel dead in space. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They're fighting a fleet engagement using tactics designed for individual assassination." High Counselor Murthane's energy form pulsed with newfound respect. They've turned the entire battlefield into their stealth environment. The swarm can't fight what it can't see, and the humans ensure they're never visible long enough to target. But the battle wasn't one-sided. The swarm had numbers, and their weapons were devastatingly effective. Several alien vessels that had revealed themselves to support the human attacks paid the price. A Christek cruiser that moved to provide fire support found itself overwhelmed by coordinated swarm attacks. The Silicon Collective's mobile fortress took heavy damage when it tried to shield a human frigate from enemy fire. Unlikely heroes, the turning point came when Captain Vasquez's tactical brilliance became clear. She wasn't just coordinating hit attacks. She was orchestrating a complex deception that used every ship in the system, human and alien alike. All vessels execute pattern delta. Her voice carried across all communication channels. Make them think we're everywhere. Human ships began appearing and disappearing throughout the system. But now they weren't just attacking. They were creating false sensor signatures, generating phantom contacts, and making the swarm's targeting systems completely unreliable. To the alien fleet, it appeared that thousands of enemy vessels were attacking from every direction simultaneously. The psychological effect was devastating. The swarm's coordination, their greatest strength, became a liability as they began targeting illusions and wasting firepower on empty space. Meanwhile, the real human ships continued their precision strikes, systematically dismantling the enemy fleet's command structure. Commander Morrison's voice cut through the battle chatter. Primary command node is down. Secondary command elements are losing coordination. Recommend all units press the attack now. The assembled galactic fleets, inspired by humanity's tactical innovation, launched their own assault. But now they had perfect intelligence on enemy positions, provided by human reconnaissance units that continued to shadow the swarm undetected. Every shot was aimed at verified targets. Every attack coordinated for maximum effectiveness. The battle lasted for hours. When it ended, the Void Swarm had been completely destroyed, their thousands of ships reduced to drifting debris. Not a single alien vessel had escaped the system. New respect in the aftermath, as rescue operations began and damage assessments were compiled. The political landscape of the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity had proven that advanced technology wasn't always about bigger weapons or stronger shields. Sometimes it was about thinking differently, about finding solutions that others couldn't imagine. Ambassador Zethkar approached Captain Vasquez as she supervised recovery operations. His manner was completely different from their earlier interaction, carrying genuine respect rather than condescension. Captain, I owe you an apology. We underestimated your species considerably. Captain Vasquez smiled tiredly. No apology necessary, Ambassador. We're used to being underestimated. Sometimes it's an advantage. High Counselor Murthane materialized nearby, the ethereal being's energy form pulsing with something that might have been admiration. Your tactics today saved thousands of lives across multiple species. The Council will want to discuss formal military cooperation agreements. We'd welcome such discussions, Captain Vasquez replied. But I hope you understand that our surveillance network will remain operational, not to spy on our allies, but to watch for threats like the swarm. Someone needs to keep an eye on the dark between the stars. General Thox approached the group, his mechanical voice carrying newfound respect. The Silicon Collective would be honored to share our defensive technologies with Earth. Perhaps we can learn from each other. As Captain Vasquez looked around at the former skeptics now offering partnership and alliance, she couldn't help but smile. Humanity had never sought to dominate the galaxy through superior firepower or advanced technology. They had found their place by being what others never expected, the invisible guardians watching from the shadows, ready to act when the galaxy needed protectors who could strike from the darkness itself. The exhibition had ended very differently than anyone had planned. Instead of showcasing military might, it had forged new alliances. Instead of demonstrating superiority, it had proven the value of thinking beyond conventional limitations. And, in the vast expanse of space, human vessels continued their silent vigil, watching for threats that others couldn't see, ready to defend worlds that had once dismissed them as primitives. The galaxy was a little safer because someone was always watching, always waiting, always ready to appear when needed most. The age of humanity as a galactic power had begun not with conquest, but with protection, not with dominance, but with service. They had become the silent hunters, the invisible guardians, the protectors who emerged from the darkness when darkness threatened to consume everything else. And in the years that followed, when children of a dozen species looked up at the stars and wondered what watched over them in the night, the answer was always the same. Humanity was out there, invisible but vigilant, making sure that the light would never go out.